What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and in this one I'm going to be showing you how I turned an Android tablet into a portable gaming device. So, there's a lot of different handhelds out there that you can buy, like the Switch. You have older stuff like PSP and Game Boy, but what if you could have everything that you wanted on one device? Well, the answer to that is to use Android, and you can use a tablet or a phone, doesn't matter, it just has to be, I would say, middle of the line. Low-end devices, emulation past PS1 is going to be very, very difficult. This is kind of a middle-of-the-road tablet here. This is called a Skyegg K13 tablet. I bought this on Amazon, and I was a little skeptical because it is an off-brand Chinese Android tablet, but it has Android 14 on it. It has 8-core processor, 6GB RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage. That can be upgraded to a terabyte. The RAM can be upgraded to around 20 gigabytes, which is even more than my PC has. The gaming laptop I have, it's like 8 gigabyte RAM. So this thing can have some decent power to it, to say the least. But if you ever buy one of these off-brand devices, I highly recommend checking your specs when you buy it, because I've heard of people getting scammed, getting lied to. So if you ever buy one of these things, go to the About Tablet page in your settings, hit the model, and it'll show you everything that it has as described. So this one was true to what it said. All the specs that it showed on the Amazon page were true, and it certainly runs like it. It has pretty decent speed. It runs most games that I've tried. I have stuff from Atari all the way up to PSP on here. The only thing I had trouble emulating was PS2, but that kind of makes sense because if you're looking to emulate PS2, I would say you have to buy like one of the Snapdragon devices. I think it's Snapdragon 850 or whatever to be able to run PS2. I don't know a whole lot about that. I just emulate PS2 stuff on my PC because it's much, much easier. But for the stuff that I do have, quite a few games on here, all with native controller support too, with these emulators, and even certain mobile games like GTA Liberty City Stories. I can connect my PS4 controller to it, and you can use either Bluetooth or a wired connection. I prefer the wired, and I use this Type-C to USB adapter. You can get these on Amazon for about $5 a pack, and you'll get 3 or 4 of them in that pack. So this tablet I only paid $100 for. It was originally $180. So for $100 plus, if you have a controller on hand with an adapter cable, you can play pretty much anything except for more modern titles. So let me get into the emulators themselves, and of course RetroArch, which is the most popular front end. So I'll go ahead and start that up first. This is the most complicated thing when it comes to emulation. For some people, I actually found it relatively easy to use, because in this one, since it's a front end, it has multiple emulators in here. There's so many of them you can't even count. But the two that I use for this is Atari 7800 and Sega Genesis. That's all I really do on here. There's some other ones I might try. There's DS emulators, Game Boys, stuff like that. But if you want an extra core, you have to install them, and they're already in here, but you still have to install them. So if you want one, scroll through all the different systems, click on one, which I'm not going to do because I already have mine installed, and simply install it. And then you load your games. So I'll go ahead and load a core to show you this. I'll load up Atari for you. Now I have my stuff in the storage emulated thing here, storage emulated 0 RetroArch, and then I have a games file. With RetroArch, it's nice to put your game files within the RetroArch files. So there's all of my Atari games. These 3 up top are Atari. I don't have these in separate folders, but I know which ones are Atari because they say .A78. So that's pretty simple. And then if you're ever looking for the core itself, you have core information. It'll tell you everything about the core. And if you want to get rid of it, you can hit delete core. So that's pretty much all you need to do for RetroArch. And of course, which cores you pick are going to be relative to whatever games you're looking to emulate. If you're trying to do Game Boy or DS, then those are the cores that you're going to want installed. As far as getting ROMs, pretty simple. I'm not going to tell you exactly where to get them, but just quick Google search and a bunch of sites will pop up. So let me get into standalone emulators, because these are a little bit different. Certain ones require a BIOS file. The only one that I have that does is DuckStation, which is a PS1 emulator. It's on RetroArch too, but I prefer to use the standalone just because I have more PS1 games and they're all organized in here a lot better. So there's all those, and they're all ready to go. If I want to play one, all I have to do is click on it, plug in my controller, and it automatically maps everything for me. So with the controllers on any of these things, you'll go to your controller settings, and you're going to go to your port 1, which it'll show what you have, like analog controller DualShock, and just hit perform automatic mapping. Or you can make your own binds, but for the most part, the automatic mapping will map things out exactly as they are on whatever system you're trying to emulate. So it's very, very simple, not much to it. And then for BIOS files, since this one requires it, go to your app settings, all the way over there to that BIOS tab, and it'll show the BIOS that you put into it. I have the US BIOS, but if I wanted to download Japanese games, I could add the Japanese BIOS in here also. So that's pretty simple there. And the other two here, PPSSPP and the MUPEN 64 emulator. PPSSPP is for PSP, and MUPEN is for the N64. These don't require a BIOS file, and either did the two cores that I had on RetroArch. With RetroArch, certain cores require a BIOS, but a majority of them don't. So I'll go ahead and show you the PSP emulator. So far it's my favorite. Since I wasn't really able to emulate PS2 games on here like I had planned, I started emulating PSP games because they're pretty similar. You can get stuff like Manhunt 2, FIFA Street 2, GTA games, which with GTA I recommend the mobile ports. I think they run a little better. And also stuff like Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, all that. This is by far the best if you're going to be using a touchpad, but like I said, I recommend controller, especially for more complex games like FIFA Street 2, where you have to perform different tricks and combinations. But if you're just playing something like Medal of Honor, the touchpad works pretty well. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll boot up Medal of Honor Heroes and just show you that like an on-screen touchpad comes on here. Like any mobile game, I have mine set to disappear after 2 seconds of not touching it, because most of the time, I have my controller connected. But there's the game and what it looks like, and I'll show you the touchpad actually works. I'll just click onto the skirmish mode so you can move up and down. It has pretty good input too. It doesn't really have like any input delay or anything. And then if you want to close your games, there's this little tab up top and you exit. But this is by far the best emulator for Android, I think. But, it just depends what you're looking to emulate. I'll also show you what the GTA looks like. The mobile port. I was already loaded up. So there's what that looks like. This one honestly surprised me of how good it looked. I had played GTA 3 on mobile before on my iPhone, but that's Liberty City Stories. I'm not going to play it right now for the sake of the video. But yeah, it just depends what you're looking to play. But for the most part, an Android, especially if you're into older games, I would say it's the way to go. So anyways, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.